Self-esteem and self-image is something that we all struggle with from time to time. Sometimes we feel good, other times we don't. But whether it be because we regret our actions or maybe it's something superficial, we try to make things better. And superheroes are the same way. They are typically humans after all. But which heroes are in serious need of that therapist couch? That's what we're exploring today. Let's do it. In at 10, The Flash. In an alternate future, a version of Barry Allen, also known as The Flash, blames himself for the death of Wally West and became determined to prevent it from happening. He started by killing his enemies and using these actions to increase his speed so that he could travel back in time to correct his mistakes. How killing off his rogues increased his speed, I don't know, but that's aside the point. While the actual Flash was busy dealing with a rock slide in Pakistan, Future Flash arrived to confront Daniel West and prevent Wally's death. During their battle, Future Flash explained the tragic consequences that would result from Reverse Flash's actions. Fueled by rage, Future Flash ripped off Daniel's head just in time to prevent the car accident that would have killed Wally. The current Flash then confronted his future self for this act, but was crippled by him. Meanwhile, a newly costumed Wally West took up the Flash mantle because of that to stop Future Flash. When Future Flash finally arrived in the present, or at least the present of the comic, he took his past self to the Salt Flats and the tear in the Speed Force, revealing that he wanted to sacrifice this Flash to seal the rupture using Barry's energy. The two speedsters dueled, with Future Flash gaining the upper hand until the fight was interrupted by a speed-powered Wally West. Despite this, Future Flash was still able to defeat both heroes, resulting in Wally's demise and Barry's disappearance into the Speed Force tear. Trapped in the present and looking 20 years younger, Future Flash seeks to rewrite his future after that, which is absolutely terrifying. And at 9, Daredevil. Matt Murdock, blinded as a child but gifted with heightened senses, fights for the underprivileged in New York's Hell's Kitchen as a zealous lawyer during the day and an agile and skilled martial artist, Daredevil, at night. Raised by his father, an aging boxer, Matt was encouraged to pursue education and intellectual pursuits rather than relying on physical strength. However, after witnessing his father's death at the hands of gangsters who demanded he throw a fight, Matt swears to fight injustice both in and out of the courtroom. Initially portrayed as a swashbuckling, carefree adventurer, Daredevil was later reimagined by Frank Miller in the 1980s as a tormented hero who suffered a series of tragedies. Miller introduced the character of Elektra, Matt's first and greatest love, who ultimately became an assassin and was killed by Daredevil's enemy Bullseye. Despite his pain and suffering though, Matt continued to fight for justice, knowing that giving up would not bring any redemption. But then things go downhill after he becomes evil and a whole bunch of other stuff. But then when he's told that he wants to die in Daredevil Reborn, things change and he sees the truth again. By staying true to his heroic principles, he hopes to find a way to make amends for his past mistakes. And at 8, Green Arrow. Yes, even billionaires who love archery can struggle with self-hate. In Green Arrow number 7, published in February of 2011, Ollie faced off with the Lady of the Forest, a mysterious entity that had appeared in Star City's new forest, which had grown there after Prometheus had blown up Star City into, ironically enough, a star-shaped crater. During a deep conversation, the lady, who was actually Moira Queen, Oliver's mother's ghost, pointed out to Oliver that, quote, even you have some faith in people if nothing else, to which Ollie replied, people can fail, disappoint. His mother then responded insightfully, and yet you only seem to hold that view of yourself. Ollie said that he was just trying to beat them to the punch, to which his mother said, or maybe you don't feel like you deserve such people in your life. These last two lines indicated that Oliver was struggling with self-loathing, feeling inadequate and unworthy, and projecting those feelings onto others, assuming that they felt the same way about him. And honestly, this is something I know a lot of people do, myself included. Given the context of being a superhero vigilante as well, self-sabotage is probably a way of asserting control over a situation because we're predicting the outcome that we're then creating. So yeah, turns out money doesn't solve all problems. In comic books, anyway. And at 7, Spider-Man. I know that I've said that I hate talking about this, but honestly, at this point, after what I've talked about, I think that this story is actually hilarious, and if I have to suffer through the knowledge of this, so does everyone else. And this story is absolutely perfect for this list, honestly, okay? It's like my own way of being a supervillain. In the Spider-Man Reign storyline, it is revealed that Mary Jane is dead, but it's later on revealed why she's dead. Since she was married to Peter, because you know, Peter and MJ, they wanted to have kids, they wanted to start a family. But the thing is, a radioactive spider biting you does more to a man than just letting him stick to walls and perform incredible acts. It also fills the man with radiation, because it's a radioactive spider. And anything else that he fills also gets filled with radiation, if you're catching my drift, okay? Whether you're like doing like a lab experiment or not, that's what ended up happening, since Mary Jane ends up dying of cancer thanks to the radiation that Peter instilled when they were trying to have kids. Yeah, it's horrible. Well, yes, it was a question that everyone had. It's not something that anyone said out loud or wanted the answer to, especially if this is the way it was going to go. But Peter is definitely mad that he caused this, so yeah, I'd say that he hates himself. And at 6, Superman. In the world of injustice, Superman is driven to extremes by the death of Lois Lane at the hands of the Joker. Well, kind of at the hands of the Joker, but also himself, which leads him to believe that he must take a more aggressive approach to maintaining law and order in the world. As a result of this belief, Superman becomes a ruthless dictator, using his immense power to control and subjugate anyone who opposes him. He's willing to use violence and force to achieve these goals, and quickly becomes a symbol of fear and oppression rather than a symbol of hope and justice. One of the most interesting aspects of the Injustice version of Superman, though, is the way that he's always portrayed as a tragic figure. Like, while yes, his actions are extreme and even villainous, it is clear that he's motivated by a deep sense of loss and grief. However, this does cause him to not only hate himself for not being there to save his love, hence the extreme measures, but it also makes him butt heads with the original version of Superman when they bring him over from his Earth. So yeah, he's hating himself, but also other versions of himself. And you know what? That's getting on the list. Halfway through, and at number 5, Rogue. Rogue first appeared in Avengers Annual number 10 in 1981 and quickly became a fan favorite. Rogue's powers, though, initially made her a villain, as she was unable to control her absorption abilities and often left her victims comatose or worse. However, over time she learned to control and harness her abilities and became a valuable member of the X-Men. Rogue's backstory, though, is of course a tragic one. She was born in Mississippi and ran away from home at a young age after accidentally putting her boyfriend in a coma with her powers. She was eventually recruited by Mystique, who raised her as a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. It was during a battle with the Avengers that Rogue absorbed the powers of Carol Danvers, aka Ms. Marvel, which left her permanently changed and haunted by the memories of Carol. And given all that, and the fact that she can't control, or that she couldn't control her powers and could even kill people by accident, yeah, I'm gonna say that it would make a hell of a lot of sense if she hated herself or hated her powers more than it probably seems. And at 4, Hulk. Hulk is one of the most well-known heroes for hating themselves. Like, if you think of a hero who hates themselves, you're typically gonna think of Hulk. And in June of 2019, The Incredible Hulk Last Call was released. But it appears that some last-minute changes were made to the comic. These changes can be seen through certain elements that were meant to be removed from the digital version, but were not. It seems that the reason for this is probably due to the depiction of Bruce basically wanting to eat a bullet, and other versions of that, which were removed from the print version. Unfortunately, that also meant that a direct reference to previous Hulk stories had to be removed as well. Similar changes have occurred in movies, such as the scene from The Avengers where Mark Ruffalo's Hulk says that he put a weapon in his mouth and the other guy spat the bullet out, being a reference to a deleted scene from the original Incredible Hulk movie where Ed Norton's Bruce Banner did the same thing. I mean, when it's that blatant, I feel like it's gonna be on the list. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Deadpool. Deadpool, also known as Wade Wilson, is a Marvel character who underwent a severe mutation that gave him his superhuman healing factor and made him virtually unkillable. However, despite these incredible abilities, Deadpool doesn't like the way he looks after the mutation, understandably. He suffers from severe scarring all over his body and is often seen wearing a full body suit to conceal his appearance. Deadpool's dislike for his appearance is a recurring theme in the comics and is often used as a source of humor in the series, and not just in the comics too. In like the shows and even the Deadpool movies, there was a whole section, what felt like improv, talking about his new topographical map of Utah look. He's also known for making self-deprecating jokes about his looks and often comments on how ugly he is compared to other heroes. But despite his insecurities, Deadpool is still confident in his abilities and the fact that he can't die, which is pretty cool. But I mean, he still hates it. And I mean, he spent the entire first Deadpool movie trying to find a way to get rid of it so he could go back to looking like Ryan Reynolds, which I get. Penultimately, and at number 2, Green Lantern. I think that this point is justified thanks to Emerald Twilight from back in 1994. I'm pretty sure you'll know it once I talk. The story begins with Hal Jordan holding a doll in the middle of what was once Coast City. Grief-stricken, he recreates the city using his power ring, including its deceased inhabitants, including his father. This violated the Green Lantern Corps code, which forbids lanterns from using their powers from personal gain. So Hal is contacted by a guardian guardian from the universe, who reprimands him. Furious at this, Hal drains the holographic projection's energy and travels to O to use the central power battery to permanently reconstruct Coast City. The Guardians send other Green Lanterns to stop him, but Hal is determined to achieve his goal and unleashes destruction on anyone who gets in his way. As Hal's rampage continues, the consequences of his actions ripple throughout the cosmos, with Green Lanterns vanishing and their rings inexplicably disappearing. Even Guy Gardner, who wears Sinestro's yellow ring, witnessed the devastation caused by Hal's actions. And I mean, if you feel guilty enough to rebuild Coast City and wipe out the Green Lantern Corps, which you are a part of, to do it, yeah, I'm gonna say that you got some therapy you need to go to. And finally, in at number 1, Black Widow. Natasha Romanoff, also known as Black Widow, was an exceptional spy and assassin who played a crucial role in the formation of the Avengers. At a young age, she was recruited by General Dreykov into the Red Room, where she was trained to become a deadly operative. For a brief period, she lived with Alexei Shostakov and Melina Vostokov when they were undercover in the United States. Following the destruction of the North Institute, she underwent intense psychological conditioning before graduating from the Red Room as a widow. After the Avengers defeated Loki, Romanoff continued to work for S.H.I.E.L.D., partnering with Captain America to uncover a conspiracy following an assassination attempt on Nick Fury. They discovered that Hydra had been infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. since its inception, and despite the Winter Soldier's efforts to stop them, Romanoff helped expose Alexander Pierce's sinister plans to the world, which consequentially also revealed her own morally questionable past. As a result, she was forced to go off the grid once more and rebuild her cover again. She's also mentioned multiple times how she thinks that she's a monster and is ashamed of her previous actions, reasons which led her to sacrificing herself in order for the Avengers to get the Soul Stone in Avengers Endgame, which I'm sure she felt was kind of atoning for that. So yeah, I'm gonna say that sacrificing yourself so that you can atone is definitely self-hate behavior, although that's kind of weird. I'm just gonna go. If you want more Avengers stuff and superheroes who hate themselves, I guess, click the video. I don't know if there's more. Maybe not. Hopefully not.